It's time for EdTech Mondays, brought to you by MasterCard Foundation and CC Hub.
Welcome to EdTech Mondays Nigeria, a platform that facilitates critical conversations on the use of technology for teaching and learning. I am Chinyelu Akpa, your host, and it's great to be here. In the last 4 episodes, we have looked at adoption, examined impact, and explored research pipelines in higher education. But where do we go from here? The future of higher education in Nigeria depends on whether institutions can reimagine themselves as not just places of instruction, but as hubs of lifelong learning, innovation, and collaboration. On this final episode, we'll be asking the question, what will the Nigerian University of the future look like? And what must we do today to build it? Joining me to do justice to this conversation is our first guest. Our first guest is a development professional and program management specialist with a track record in designing and implementing initiatives that advance education, employability, human capital development, and sustainable development across Africa. He's currently the head of higher education at the British Council Nigeria, where he leads the higher education portfolio focused on enhancing institutional capacity, student outcomes, and international partnerships across African universities. His work also spans research and insight generation to inform higher education priorities, as well as oversight of the UK's student mobility and alumni engagement programs. Join me today to welcome Daniel Emenahor. Daniel, it's great to have you here.
Thank you very much. Good to be here as well. Thank you.
Great. And our second guest is a dynamic and innovative technopreneur with a fervent dedication to harnessing technology to amplify education. His confluence of passion for technology, business, and entrepreneurship fuels his relentless pursuit of disruptive and creative solutions, often pushing the boundaries of conventional practices. Academically, he is grounded with a degree in meteorology from the University of Technology, Akure, and is presently advancing his studies with a master's in business administration from the University of Lagos Business School. Let's welcome today Taiwo Lamina.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm happy to be on your show.
I hope I got your name well.
Yeah,
I was like, is it Lamina or Lamina? So Lamina?
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Welcome Taiwo, and thank you again, Daniel.
Thank you.
So we'll jump into the conversation.
Okay.
Over the past episode, we've had, as I said in the introductory statement, quite a bit of education in seeing what the Nigerian higher education institution, climate is like, and the role of technology in driving innovation, turning around practices, and ensuring that students don't just come to universities for a degree sake, but as I said, a place of lifelong learning, as you'd have in other universities where that is a campus where there's innovation, there is, creativity, and so much happening. And my first question now would be, how should the curricula be redesigned so that academic programs in Nigeria align directly with emerging industry needs? Because that's the biggest problem people would re-echo when they think about the inadequacies of our HEI systems in Nigeria. How do we reimagine that curricula to ensure that what we teach and what the industry needs align? So Daniel, let's start with you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I would say the first thing I think we need is that we need to move forward from theory to practical. Right, we need to move forward from just writing and cramming. You remember when I was in school and you're just reading to pass exam. We need to move on from that, and our curricula needs to be reimagined to ensure that people are not just cramming. It's not just theory, but it's practical. There's this example of when computer science in school, some schools still do Fortran. When the world has moved towards to more renowned or recent programming languages, so we need to move forward from theory to practical. Let our students and let our curricula encourage practical reasoning, doing. There's a learning framework that talks about learning by doing. We need a lot of learning by doing in our curricula. And I'll just add one more thing before maybe Taiwo comes in. One thing I also think in the way we can reimagine our curricula is tying it to work-based learning, right? Because our students, in the end of the day, would go into work in organizations. So what do organizations need? What does industry need? And bringing back down to then redesign our curricula to match and fit the industry needs of the 21st century. An example could be if a young person listening to me right now, you're learning, say, agriculture or agribusiness or agri-tech in your university, you need to ask yourself, what is the current realities in the agriculture base today, and how can lecturers or academia or the curricula adapt that to our curricula, to the system in the university, so that when our students graduate from school, they're not just job seekers and you're looking for job. There's a saying that say you cannot solve a 2025 problem with a 1995 thinking. So if you're learning 1995 curricula, how do you solve the problems of 2025? So we need to understand what's going on right now in the sector, in the industry, and bring that into the curricula for our young students. So that's how we can imagine it. Make it practical and make it focused on work-based learning.
Great. Taiwo?
Yeah, thank you so much. Just to build on what Daniel said, right? And you mentioned Fortran, and I can remember that during my undergraduate days, I actually wrote Fortran.
Have you used it ever?
Not that much in that field, but then, it has changed anyways. So I know it's been a while. Some years before COVID came on board, right? And I can add to what he has said to talk about the methodology, right? So beyond the redesigning curricula, we also need to look into the methodology, right? Where we need to embed a more experiential teaching mechanics, where there's interaction between the teachers and the students compared to what we used to have. That's one. Then we also need some sort of hybrid system of learning now, right? We've leave the age where everything has to be within the class. We need to have a session where the notes is digitalized. Then we have to come to class at time to interact with very experiential things that is quite relatable to what we are doing at the moment. Then in addition to that also, right, we also need to focus on project-based system of learning. You just don't want to do theory, but you are basically doing more like a project capstone where whatever they are teaching has to be practicalized. You have to do a project on it and also ensure that it is relevant to what is being needed in the field.
Absolutely.
When you said, a classroom where people are interacting with themselves, I just closed my eyes and I'm like, 200 people in a class? Where does interaction start? But I think those are a lot of the things we have to reimagine, because it's infrastructure. When you have 300 students in a 100 level class learning mathematics, maths 100 or 101 or 103, how does interaction happen in that class?
Just to say, I feel our universities need to be creative in how we solve those problems. Because oftentimes when we have this conversation, those are the comments that come up. Like, oh, we don't have infrastructure. Oh, we acknowledge that those problems exist. But there are creative ways we can go around that problem, right? I remember in school, you can divide the students into groups. Give them group work. When they come to school, give them, like you said, project capstone projects. When they learn this way, you can just come and make them do presentations. I can't remember when I was in school if I ever had to make a presentation beyond a seminar or my final year project. Just twice in 5 years, right? So when we have those kind of creative solutions to these problems, group work, presentations, and whatnot, I think we can solve some of these problems, pending when we have more infrastructure in the future.
Pending. Great. So thank you. Moving on from there now. We've established that there has to be a more experiential design to how we are engaging with undergraduates in universities. It has to move away from theory and even that consciousness to go do the work to figure out what the industry needs and incorporate this into the things you teach. Now, if that has been established, now what strategies can ensure that digital innovation benefits all institutions, including rural and resource poor universities, rather than deepening the urban elite divide? And I say this because last week in our conversation, we had two amazing guests who, I'll say fortunately and maybe unfortunately as well, were University of Lagos, lecturers and professors. And they were spreading the urban dream. And one of the guests says, but this is limited to just places like Lagos. When you take a 1 hour drive, a 3 hour drive away from the city, there is a huge divide in what technology can do in a university maybe in an Abuja or in a Lagos or in central Kano, and what is happening in some universities in far-flung areas. So how do we ensure that there is equity and actually the learners now are not disenfranchised? Because opportunities are coming more to the universities in the urban areas. It seems like those in the urban areas are doing more, but you have a few things that go to the rural universities and sometimes they are clueless. So what strategies might we adopt to ensure that digital innovation benefits all universities, all learners in these universities, regardless of where these universities are located?
Yeah, I would say two things. Number one, universities need to tap into the alumni. There's the power of your university alumni. And I believe many alumni also want to go back to the universities where they graduated from to kind of just give back. And they can do that through digital innovation, and shared spaces like that. So tap into the power of your alumni. I don't think my school has ever contacted me since I graduated, but that is the issue. All right, we need to tap into the power of your alumni. Many of our alumni in the diaspora, many of them are doing amazing stuff wherever they are. Tap in there and create some sort of program that enable them to come back, give back to the university through funding, through knowledge sharing, and through some master classes for the students as well. Because you want to create a reference point for your students, especially in the rural areas, bringing this alumni from the urban centers, saying they're working in top universities. When they see that reference point, they're inspired and they can aspire, to become whatever they want to become in the future. And I would say number two is the area of building of innovation labs or entrepreneurship labs or those kind of centers in university where students can just come, free from the academic world of, trying to pass exams and just come into a space where, they're learning through digital learning spaces where they can learn from things online. Digital learning is a pathway to the future, I would say. But we need to create those maker spaces and those innovation spaces, especially in rural universities, for these young people to come together and browse the internet or connect with people beyond their immediate environment. I see a case where partnerships between universities is also a key thing. So a university in the rural area, you partner with a university, say in the United Kingdom, where universities come together in a maker space and they're interacting with students, abroad or even within the country to learn and interact. I feel when they do that, they begin to, it's not a sense of this is a local university or rural university, because they have opportunities within their immediate ecosystem to interact with students beyond their immediate environment and students from the future or in the future. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Donald.
All right, yeah, thank you. So I'll talk about industry partnership, right? You get to see that most of these universities, for example, University of Agriculture, you don't expect them to be within the city of Lagos because of the kind of university they have. You have University of Petroleum, University of Technology. So in a way, we have specific industry experts and companies they can actually partner with, right? So such that it will give them advantage that some of the people in the city are also enjoying. So for example, University of Petroleum now, you can have like a shell company partnering with them, and gaining access to internet now has become a bit easier. You can, the likes of Starlinks. Then even electricity has become a bit more cheaper now. you can have the likes of solar energy.
Okay.
In a way, compared to a well-structured. Right, so I used to have opportunity to work with student leaders. Right, at times when we want to have a virtual meeting, they are basically telling you that they don't have internet or they don't have lights. Right, and I feel within this present age, if you don't have access to internet, you don't have access to light, I don't know how you want to drive innovation. It becomes extremely difficult for you to be able to achieve that, right? So a kind of partnership with industry can actually help them to fund some of these things. In a way, it's expensive, but because they also will benefit from the innovation that will come out of their facility, their research and development section, so to actually be a great partnership. So in a way to balance it such that the urban is thriving well and at the same time people within the rural area is also benefiting. So industry experts, companies also need to look into
adopting universities
within regions, and that will actually benefit them.
I believe what you've said now is really profound, because when you look at a lot of these universities outside Nigeria, you see that big corporates have built innovation labs that are, just there for research and, dumping ideas, like mini EdTech labs where students are currently being encouraged to innovate around the particular situation or problem. And that's where you're having MVPs, that's where you're having the ideas that are now developed into big products. So really, what you have said is a way that universities need to begin to think to drive, that technological advancement in their schools. And now to the big question: what would a Nigerian university, or the ideal Nigerian university of the future, look like? What technologies should define it?
What would a Nigerian university of the future look like? That's an interesting question, and I'm looking forward to that university as well. Like I said, it's a university that has strong partnerships with industry, and we cannot overemphasize that at the moment. No university can thrive in isolation, and no industry can also thrive in isolation. And industry in Nigeria needs to take our university as a key partner or as an ecosystem for ideas, for research, and for innovation. We cannot separate the two. I was in a university outside the country, and Mercedes-Benz had a lab within the institution where final year students of mechanical engineer come together and solve particular problems for the company Mercedes-Benz. I don't think we have that in Nigeria. If we do, fine. But that is the university we want to see in the future. We want to see a university that is really connected to the power of the industry. Another university, the Nigerian University of the Future, is a university that may not be defined by just the four walls of a classroom. Right, we're seeing a very high demand for higher education right now in Nigeria. The number of people who graduate, the number of people who write jams, the university system right now cannot assimilate them. Right, so in the future of higher education in Nigeria is one that will be dependent largely on digital learning. We're seeing some universities already having some digital learning courses, University of Lagos, Covenant University. So we're going to see a lot more on that. And I know the NUC is working to put quality assurance and regulatory practices around that. So we're going to see a lot of universities offering those digital experiences. And this is something that we need to be open to, right? Beyond just four walls of the university. Because if we want to, they say by 2050, Nigeria or Africa will be the talent pool of the future. And if every year many of them can get access to quality education, then who would be the talent pool of the future? Is it uneducated young people? So the Nigerian University of the Future is one that will be very dependent on artificial intelligence and digital learning to drive access to quality education across the board. I'll let Taiwo share the rest.
Yeah, thank you. I'll talk about even the faculty member, right? We're having the boomer generation actually live in the phase where we are having the millennials stepping into the faculty space and others, right? Because they are also technology driven. So in a way, because they are also innovative, they are using the products. They can actually relate to technology that can actually drive innovations and also enable students to learn much more better. So we are seeing a future university where even the faculty members are industry driven. They're also quite aware about the product that can actually drive growth for them. That's one. Then the other one is we are now having university partnering with industry experts to be a faculty member. It can be a visiting lecturer, right? And so by doing this, we are seeing, of course, if you quite available on Twitter, you see some of these experts talking about they have passion to teach. So we are seeing people given opportunity to be within the teaching environment. And the more we see more of that, the more we see more people practicing, having passion to also teach. By virtue of that, we are seeing a lot of them bringing the experts and the industry experience they've gotten over the years back into the classroom and also influencing the way people are learning and the way they are dishing out information.
Great. And that has been, I said, the best way to wrap up our conversation on the role of technology in, advancing higher education institutions in Nigeria. The Nigerian University of the Future is a university without walls. Yeah. It's a university that is thriving on technology, digital technologies. University where faculty is not limited to those who have gone through the academic process, but now exposing to the industry that have the experience for the jobs of the future. It's a university that has made strong partnerships with same industry and has encouraged the industry to come into universities to support innovation and research. Absolutely. There is a big role that technology plays in all of this, and we would like to hear from you, our listeners. I'm giving you a golden opportunity to paint your picture of what you think the Nigerian university would look like in terms of technology, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of the faculty. What would that university look like? We'd love to hear from you. Send us an SMS or a WhatsApp message on 0703 165 0809 or 0706 402 0742. Remember, we would love to hear from you. What would the Nigerian University of the Future look like in terms of digital technology, faculty, infrastructure, and partnerships with the ecosystem? Thank you so much once again,
thank you,
my amazing guests, for doing justice to this conversation. And until I come your way, same time next week, remember, keep using technology to push the frontiers on education. Is bye for now.
It's time for EdTech Mondays, brought to you by MasterCard Foundation and CC Hub.